True nobility. That's what we're going to discover today. I'm Pastor John from Living Stones and Sunland Tujunga Seventh-day Adventist Churches, and it is time for the call to prayer. As you know, my friends, we're in the middle of Acts. We're in chapter 17. I wish we could be doing this in person, but here we are. Welcome to the planet, right? But we are now almost at episode 100. We're getting close. So I guess we're getting somewhere, aren't we? The Bible train is moving, and we're moving through Acts. So, by the way, it was great seeing you all on Sabbath. Those of you who are here, and those of you who are online as well. I know you don't communicate so much, and I want communication. Make sure at the end that after you smash that like button, like and subscribe, tell me what you think. We'd love to know your input in the story of the theater of the universe, right? We all are a part of that, and I ask that you be a part of this. And we're in Acts chapter 17. We've been moving. And remember, Paul was in Thessalonica. And Thessalonica, of course, you know, there was a big growth of the church. But then all of a sudden, all these business people got together. And I understand, business, it's about hand to mouth, money, stuff. And we're going to see the difference between noble or true nobility versus those who are just scrapping for every dollar they may have. I'm going to look at it now. Chapter 17 of Acts. Turn with me. We're going to be ending in verse 9. Then they made Jason and the others post bail, and they let them go. Remember, Jason was the one whom Paul and Silas were at the house of, but they had left, and Jason was dragged into the courts, thrown in prison with his friends who were Christian, and the drama created growth. We know it grew because we have 1st and 2nd Thessalonians that exist in the Bible. That church grew, just like Ephesus. But now we'll continue to another place called Berea. As soon as it was night, the believers sent Paul and Silas away to Berea. On arriving there, they went to the Jewish synagogue. Now the Berean Jews were much more of noble character than those in Thessalonica, for they received the message with great eagerness and examined the scriptures every day to see if what Paul said was true. Noble character. Are you of noble character? Los Angeles is a hard place to find noble character. Those of you who perhaps have lived outside Los Angeles realize that when you get here, it's like hand to mouth. The biggest arguments that happen in churches in LA are not about things like theological things or things about God. It's generally about food. There's arguments about food all the time. We just have a hard time being of noble character. Well, God calls us all to be of noble character. Things aren't just about how much money we have in our bank account, or how much food we have on our table, or whether I have more food than that person does, or that person doesn't deserve it because I deserve it. That is what the world worries about. But in the Church of God, we don't worry about statuses and about titles and about positions. We worry about whether God is leading or not. It's interesting. The Jewish people in the other cities, and Thessalonica and others, they were into status. And when this thing grew, when Paul brought the gospel, they were so happy. Remember that? It's earlier, just up there in verses 3, 4 and 5. The Jewish people were so happy at this message that was coming from the Word of God. They saw that Paul's message had worked in their lives, and they started to study it. But then in came the green-eyed monster of jealousy. We see that in the book of Genesis, chapter 4, Cain and Abel. Abel offered a sacrifice to God of what God asked for. Cain offered a sacrifice to God of the fruits of his labor, the fruits of the ground of which he was very good at. When God liked Abel's fruit, so to say, the lamb that Abel presented to God, which is what God always asked for, Cain became jealous. He became angry. It comes from an insecurity and a hole right inside the heart that is a black hole that we suck in things. We want, I want attention, I want title, I want position, I want money, I want fame, I want fortune, I want houses, I want everyone to love me, I want everyone to be around me. But this is not noble. Noble character. You can't go to Hollywood and find noble character. It's very hard to find noble character in Hollywood. It's very hard to find noble character in any place that is hyper-political, because politics is not about the heart or the character. It's about what's on the outside, the color of the skin, whether it be black or white. It's all about color of skin. It's on the outside. So we paint ourselves and our houses and our buildings to look great, and we put great edifices together. But what noble character is about what's on the inside. Berea was a strong place. True nobility. Entitlement says that I am nobility because my bloodline, because somebody said I'm important, because the media likes me and my positions and my politics and my personal opinions. That's worldly nobility. But it doesn't change the heart. Maybe we're in our religious circles. We sometimes see nobility. I believe the right things, and I make sure everyone does exactly as I say, and I worship on the Sabbath, and I make sure that I do not take any drugs, and I make sure that I don't drink any coffee, and I make sure that I don't do anything wrong, and I don't touch a piece of meat. That's outward nobility. But is that the inside? Is that the way the person is when they're home? No. True nobility is what destroys hypocrisy. You know, hypocrisy, to say one thing but yet do another. Hypokritos means to be an actor in Greek. The actors, and Jesus actually said, beware of the actors in the temple who pray long prayers. And they think that by their many words that God will hear them and people will hear them. But instead, when you do things, do them in your heart, quietly, in the back room too. Not just in the front. It doesn't mean you can't do things in the front. I mean, as a pastor, I pray all the time in public. I'll be praying in the intercession for each one of you on video on the internet. I mean, is that not a big deal, right? Of course that's in public. But if I don't mean it here, then it's a joke there. But if I mean it here, then it's not a joke, it is real. Jesus is asking for us to be noble of character. Not just noble of title, position, look, color, politics, brand, religion. Instead, nobility to be right here. Of the heart, my friends. True nobility. These Jews that were there were of a truly noble spirit. They had great eagerness And every day they searched the scriptures. They didn't just yell at Paul for happening to have a different opinion, being angry at him for not making them look important. If I'm wrong, I'll learn, being open. You know, that's one of the things that's always very hard. Many times when people tell us that we're wrong, we get louder. I read a fortune cookie that once said, rather than increasing your volume, reinforce your argument. And I was like, wow, those were in the days of real fortune cookies. That was from like in the book of Psalms, which is the fortune cookie book of the Bible. You know, the little fortune cookies that have the little sayings. Now today we say, instead of Confucius say, it says computer say, right? But instead of raising your voice, reinforce your argument. That's what these people were doing. Not angry at Paul and Silas and Timothy. Instead, they searched the scriptures. And because of this, it says, they tried to see whether that what Paul said was true. Verse 12. As a result, look at this. As a result. This is how it is in the Bible. When we have something from the Bible and people read the Bible, I mean, really read it. Don't just like pick out a text here and pick out a text there and say, then I know everything. Instead, actually read the Bible. You will find that as a result, many will come to belief, as did also some other prominent Greek women and many Greek men as well. This was a noble place. My friends, at Living Stones in Sunland, Tujunga, we need to be a church of nobility, noble spirit, not fighting with others about position, about title, but instead letting the main thing be the main thing. Let's let the Bible be central and God be in charge. And when that happens, then all of a sudden we become a team with different roles in the team, instead of one's more important than the other. You know, in football, if a quarterback can say, I'm the most important. Guess what? The quarterback isn't the most important if he doesn't know how to do what he's doing. It's his role that matters. Running back role. Without a guard on the front line, the quarterback will be sacked. Without a defense and those sacking the other quarterback, the best quarterback on the planet would lose. My friends, you can apply this to any sport. We need to be noble of spirit, humble of heart, not about ourselves, but about God. But when the Jews in Thessalonica, it says in verse 13, then the Jews in Thessalonica learned that Paul was preaching about God in Berea. Some of them came down there too, agitating the crowds and stirring them up. The believers in Berea. Check this out. The believers in Berea immediately sent Paul to the coast, but Silas and Timothy stayed in Berea. Do you see that important thing? Paul trusted Silas and Timothy. When you have a team, you can trust each other. It's not just about yourself. You work together. You say, okay, you take care of that, I'll take care of this. Paul was the leader, but Paul says, you guys have got it. And they started doing their job, and Paul headed toward the coast. And this leads him to Athens. We're going to have a great moment, man. Athenians, the famous Athenians, Paul will speak to. Those head knowledge ones who are noble on the outside. We'll see what happens in the heart. I'm so glad to have you here as we continue on our Bible train. And I'm glad to have you at the call to prayer. Remember, smash the like button, like, subscribe. If you have any prayer requests, please send them right here on Facebook or on YouTube. Or make sure in the description box you email our secretary at livingstonessdachurch.org. It's right in the description box down below. We'd love to know if you need special prayer. But we're going to have prayer. Intercession begins right now. I'll see you there.